Hello and welcome to Sikit-Sikit Info, a podcast series by KBC Industrial Supplies. In this series, we bring together industry experts to share insights that matter to today's industries. Today, we're excited to have Dawei from ENGIE Malaysia Services for part 2, continuing our topic, the Decarbonisation Pulse. Enjoy the podcast.
So today we're going to talk about bridging the gap between the engineering and finance for the industrial energy. So I'll be your host today. My name is Jin, and we will have Dawei here from ENGIE. So Dawei, actually very curious. We talk about all these energy audits, right? One of the first thing after that will be, what can we do after the audit? Because telling me you come to my plant as an energy auditor, someone come and knock on the door and say we measure your energy consumption, we measure the efficiency of the equipment. What's in for me? Yeah. So that comes to, should I buy a new chiller? Should I invest in a energy efficiency project, be it buying 100 units of high efficiency motor? So in that case, how will ENGIE look at, or how yourself will look at when it comes to making an investment in an energy project? What are the, or say, not to say nuggets, but what would your advice be if today, as a factory, I have done my energy audit? What are the things I should look out for if I want to have a successful implementation of such a undertaking capex project for an energy efficiency related investment?
I think if we take a step back from that question, just to refocus a little bit on the EECA and EACG, I think the impact to the industry is going to be very wide ranging. You mentioned that 21,600 gigajoules. I mean, that covers all the different energy sources, right? Electricity, heat, the different fuel types. So even for clients with just electricity bills of in a couple of 100,000, you're probably going to be impacted by it. Probably going to be liable to comply with the act.
Yeah.
Right. And the EACG really, I think, can be viewed as a complementary aspect to it. Like you said, it helps to subsidize some of the aspects of the cost associated with understanding your energy your energy flows in your plant.
Yep, correct.
And I think that is a critical first step. Before you even make an investment decision, you need to know where you are. You need to understand your baselines. And your baselines beyond, I'm paying my TNB bill, and the TNB bill is 500,000 this month, 520,000 next month. But going deeper into that, trying to understand where your major energy consumers are, or to be used as significant energy consumers, right? And from there, you can then, okay, now I have that information, I've done my audit, how can I start to implement a project?
Yeah.
And that's where, again, working with different ESCOs, working with different energy partners per se, and having discussions with them across the board, different range of commercial models out there. But what's most important is, what is your end goal? What is it that you're trying to achieve? Typically, the first consideration, does it save me money? Right?
Yes.
That's the first one. The second consideration is, okay, if it saves me money, it's great if it saves me 10,000, but if it costs me 2 million, it's probably the ROI is too long.
Yeah.
Right. So what is the ROI of the project? And that's where we really see one big advantage of working with an energy partner coming in. If you are able to work with an energy partner like energy to take a longer term perspective, right? You're not looking for projects that are in a 1 to 2 year ROI anymore. Those projects are easy to identify, rather easier to identify, and very attractive financially to implement that.
Correct.
Where we see a little bit of gap is when the project starts getting a little bit longer in terms of ROI, right? And then you're comparing against, do I make, if I had 2 million ringgit as a budget this year, do I want to invest it to improve my energy efficiency on the utility side? Do I want to take that same 2 million, allocate it to a different budget that boosts the attractiveness of my end product?
Yes.
We know where typically such decisions will end up. But where I think it's important to note is that the perspectives of energy service companies in general, if they are able to take a longer term vision, aligning with the clients, and says, okay, going to undertake projects with you that would still bring significant savings, but are not in the 1 to 2 or even 3 year payback, slightly longer. But let's have a longer term partnership, a 10-year partnership, a 15-year partnership. How can then we align our interests together with our clients and say, over the course of this 10 to 15 years, we are willing to invest on your behalf, working together in a partnership with a very much aligned goals. At the end of the day, you want to have the lowest total lowest cost of ownership or lowest cost of utilities as a whole. That's not just in terms of your capital expenditure. That's not just in terms of your operational expenditure, but also, like I mentioned earlier, the 30 to 60% of the overall cost of the utilities is going to be coming from energy.
Yes.
Right? How efficient are you going to be not just one day after the system is commissioned, but 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road? Do you have that same level of efficiency? And do you have the same level of, importantly, for manufacturers, reliability? If the systems are down, you don't have the redundancy involved, it's going to impact your production straight away. And that's a big no-no for all the manufacturers that we work with and want to work with.
You mentioned something about production, which it resonates a lot with some of the clients we talk to. They are absolutely the best when it comes to how do they produce the best product that meets the market requirement. But when it comes to utility, they may not be the best in terms of maintaining or squeeze the best performance out of maybe the air compressor system. And that's where I think ENGIE will come in together with us. We will look into that and say, hey, can we improve your COP, core efficiency of performance of your air compressor? Why? Maybe because it's not currently not running at its best efficiency point. Because in order to run at its best efficiency point, you will need to have, let's say, this machine is designed to run at 80% load. And due to fluctuation in production, because they want to produce product at the right amount, right quantity, and at the right time. And they don't want to produce too much because you were all hooked up at the storage, which of course is another sunk cost. And they want to also make it just in time. So with that means that they have to make do with sacrificing energy efficiency. So I think that is where ENGIE will come together and say, if you're willing to invest at we'll say a longer period, because you have a form of partnership together with a client where they continue to focus on what they do best, which is producing goods. And we come in and say, look, what other technologies is available in terms of balancing or find the sweet spot between the energy consumption, how much you're using, how does this availability of energy for utility side, making sure it doesn't interrupt your production. When you need it, it should be that available energy. And lastly, how do we not break the buck by maybe investing 5 million off the book, off a cash flow, which this could be paid, used better off maybe to actually do marketing to make sure the product was marketed better, to get better acceptance, better market share, than buying a state-of-the-art air compressor machine. So I think that is where I catch the point. Having the partnership where the manufacturer does the best in R&D in producing the products, and having the technical expertise of the equipment side from our side, and also having a partner who don't only just maintain but co-invest together into a more sustainable operation for the factories. Because I think this will switch back to another angle of the story. We are increasingly competing in a very competitive market globally. I think in Malaysia, we have a very reliable infrastructure when it comes to logistics, when it comes to energy, which is availability of electricity. And I think we also have the right talent. Now, it is a matter of how can we reduce the energy intensity and making sure that we don't overpay or I would say, adjust for risk. On that say, one of the most common things that we hear nowadays is battery. Is battery going to help? And should we do battery? What do you think?
I think it boils down back to one of the topics that we started our conversation on earlier, the shift of the tariff structure as a whole from TNB to one that is, I would say, more heavily impacted by your peak demand charges.
Yes, yes.
And that's so with that shift where 30 to 50% or even sometimes even more of the bill is allocated to peak demand charges, there is that growing emphasis of that. And energy storage systems as a whole, whether it's batteries or thermal energy storage systems, have grown to significant, I would say, prominence, especially in the past few years.
I see.
Right. And I think where this has to be balanced against, it's really understanding the client's operating profile, right? A large part of that is also to do with things like, are they a 24/7 production, right? Do they have peaks during certain hours of the day? Because again, the peak demand, just for information's sake, is from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m.
Yeah, sure. Yes, yes, the peak hour. Yeah.
That's the peak hours. And if you're operating outside of the peak demand or having your peak energy consumptions and energy demand specifically outside of those periods, you're actually less impacted by that. So it's these factors per se, right, that a client has to take into account, potentially working again with different service providers to understand how can an energy storage system really impact me in terms of my overall energy cost. For many manufacturers, it's a big discussion point because they like to have steady operating profiles.
Yes, correct.
Right. Whilst we see battery energy storage system costs coming down extremely rapidly, I think we probably have not reached, but hopefully we'll reach the stage where it could strongly help clients that have a very steady base load. With the first phase of, I would say, client interest and probably project that would be implemented are for clients that have, I would say, more fluctuating loads or more irregular loads. And then probably we'll see the next phase coming in of clients that have a very steady base load.
Understand. In your past experience, if I have only 1 million ringgit, let's say I'm a medical plant where I make medical devices, be it syringes, be it patches, salt water, things like that. So I have to choose between two. Both of them would give me an ROI of 5 years. Okay, one is a battery system, which costs me 1 million ringgit. Another, which is a proposal that I get to optimize my cooling system. Yeah. In your past experience, which one would you recommend for us to go with?
Oh, that's a tough question. I think it really goes back down to understanding the client's needs and also understanding the client's forecast per se, right? If we look at it from an output perspective or end result perspective, chilled water would always be a required output for production.
Yes, you're right.
A battery system, and at the end of the day, it will help stabilize your power. It provides some level of redundancy or of energy, but that's going to be for a very short period of time.
Yes.
But the primary function of it, at the end of the day, at least at this point of time, it's going to be more to do with lowering your peak demand, right?
Yeah.
So in some sense, it's a savings driven initiative versus another project that is both savings driven as well as has operational consideration behind it.
Yeah.
So if I take those two aspects together, then in some sense the chilled water system optimization has kind of a double benefit in that sense, both in terms of savings and operational reliability.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but putting that aside, I think what's important for the client to also understand is how do they expect the variation of their production and their needs to change across the years. Maybe not over the next 10, but maybe over the next 2, 3, 5 years. Do you have some visibility? How does this then impact your energy consumption, which can be catered for by the battery energy storage system, or specifically Is it more fluctuations in your chilled water load profile as a result of your production load? I mean, so these are the different factors I think a client would need to take into consideration.
I see. So if I were to summarize, so it goes back to your fundamental 101. Do you know what is your significant energy user today? So if you already know, for example, if for a plant like that, medical plants usually would have clean rooms. Usually climate control means that you want to control the moisture, you make sure it is consistent, not too cold, not too hot, not fluctuating, dust control, particulate, and also moisture. A cooling system is critical. It becomes the heart of the whole plant operation, because if the climate control of a plant within the clean room is compromised, the whole batch of the production is compromised. So mission critical. And with that said, if you already did all you could to optimize your chiller system, because maybe it's still rather new, maybe it's a 3-year-old system, so it doesn't make sense to now retrofit it. Then it makes more sense for you to maybe look into potentially shaving your demand with a battery. Or maybe I've seen a client before. I asked you that because it was exactly the question was tossed to me. So, Jim, which one should I go? I only have $1 million. Then I say, customer, depending on what is objective today. So they say, I have many questions and many issues. Number one, we're exporting these goods to Europe. So they're asking me to reduce my carbon footprint. One. Number two, I also want to see, can I reduce my energy bill? Number three, I also want to reduce my energy intensity, not only just the bill cost, which is maximum demand. I also want to reduce my total consumption because I want to reduce my energy intensity per unit of production. So you want everything, but you only want minute. So then we say, depending on what is absolute critical now, if you foresee that this will affect your income or your bottom line, that means either you lose business or either it will increase cost to your business because you are expecting if you no longer comply, you get penalized, you get penalty, you have to pay fines. Or because you foresee that you will no longer be able to be competitive because of a newer regulation like CBAM coming in, you could show improvement in your carbon footprint operation of a plant. You need to find ways to reduce your CO2 emission, example. Then one of the most immediate way is don't export your solar energy that you're producing, store it and use it for yourself. Yeah, so that is something more immediate. But the thing is, whether it is material or not, it goes back to understanding your baseline. Yeah.
And if I may just add a few more points to that, I think beyond understanding the baseline as well, it's also, I think, because having these conversations with the client also shows that level of trust and the level of relationship, right? So coming from a energy partner or solutions partner, it's no longer just a discussion about do I buy equipment A, do I buy equipment B, or which is the right equipment for me. It's a matter of working together with as much transparency as possible between two companies to reach an aligned end goal. I think that's what's critical because they have to put their trust in you, that you are able to advise them, and that you are able to give them the right solution and not just take on the role of how can I increase the sales of my product. And that's also, I think, adding to that, one other point you mentioned about changing regulations, right?
Yes.
And we've seen how the question of sustainability, it's not just a checkbox anymore, right? I think, as you rightly point out, it's almost a market barrier, right? Failure to have the right strategy, failure to have the right implementation of this strategy and the impact to your carbon footprint could end up locking you out of certain markets.
You're right. Absolutely. So on that end, if I may just do this, because I think I've said it many times. I just want to make sure this message get stick somewhere. Sustainability, operation excellence, and being competitive in the market can come together. It means you don't have to spend excessively just to be sustainable. You don't have to be always be the lowest energy cost to be competitive in the market. It's a matter of choosing the right investment and understanding what propels your business forward. With that said, if there's any advice that you will give before I did mine. Yeah. What is your advice for today's wrap up? Like, if at the end of the day, there's only one line or one message that someone will take out of this podcast and do something or take action, call to action, call it, what can they do to improve their position or to make better decisions? Or we advise?
I think we've touched on many topics today, right? Looking at the different aspects of the regulations, the grants, some potential grants as well. But I think the main thing the main one line that I would have for the audience to take away, it's more the aspect of taking action now, right? Because at the end of the day, the topic of energy efficiency, sustainability, and cost, they're all intermingled, right?
Yep, you're right.
The impact of it is only going to increase, right? Whether that's coming from a market barrier, whether that's coming from an energy cost perspective, it's only going to increase, right? So take action today. It starts from understanding your baseline, and then from there, look at what understanding from the market what are the different options out there, whether it's a solution, commercial models. There are many different aspects that could be explored. But if you don't understand what you have in your plan, how it's performing, and not taking action today, you'll never get started.
You're right. So start now, start understanding where you are, start understanding what's available before you jump into buying something expensive. Yeah, so it is a lot. I think if you understand correctly, so that the message for the audience will be start understanding what you have and take action to look into how possibly can you curb it. Otherwise, eventually costs will increase in a way like TNB would eventually change the tariff, AFA rates over the months. They have the right to do that. I think you're totally right on that. I totally resonate with that, but I wouldn't say the same advice. I would tilt it with another angle. If there's one advice I would, one message I want others to take away is that fundamentally, it goes back to energy. Be it the emission that you are tracking today, be it today how you stay competitive. So if we can make sure that every meter cube of chilled water and every kilowatt of electricity that you're using today, for one, you have the absolute lowest possible cost that make this energy available to you in a reliable and high availability. As whenever I want and as lowest cost possible with the availability I'm happy with. And number two, how do I make sure that my machineries are operating at the highest efficiency possible? Then eventually this will pave the foundation for you to be competitive in a sustainable manner. And eventually the reporting or the audits or the assessment from third party will go back to the fundamentals here because it can't go around. Yeah, it can't go other way. So that's how I see it. Because once you secure availability of energy, once you secure the cost of energy, the rest will fall back in pieces. Yeah, and then we can talk to ENGIE and say, hey, would you want to invest? Yeah.
You want to be out, or you want us to be an energy partner, right?
Yes. And obviously, you guys are one of the best in the industry to do that because you'll be managing many different assets across the world, right? So we'll say that for another day as a bit of teaser. So maybe next round, depending on the audience feedback, maybe we can dive a little bit more into how exactly I can help. How exactly can they look into improving efficiency for a particular system?
Sure.
Yeah, maybe cooling because Malaysia is so hot, right? So how do I look in the cooling system and what are the pitfalls and what are the nuggets that I can take immediately? Go back to talk to my vendor and talk to my technical provider. I want this. Yeah, maybe you can do that next time. Yeah.
Yeah, look forward to that. Thank you again for having me today.
Thanks, Dawei. Pleasure having you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to Dawei for sharing this valuable insight with us today. We are done for part 2 of the Decarbonisation Pulse. Stay tuned for the next episode and new topic where we'll explore more practical insight and solution. Thank you for listening and we'll see you in the next episode.